Okay, we will go ahead and get started. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our temporary food establishment workshop. I just want to start with some quick introductions and then just a review of what we're going to talk about today and some housekeeping items. So my name is Amber English, and I'm the supervisor of the food safety program. The temporary food team is going to present today on our new food establishment or temporary food establishment application. So we have Kristen DeBraga, who's the senior environmental health specialist in the program, and Mia Zeb, who is also assigned to the program. Those two are going to be presenting today, but we also have Ian and Teresa in the audience that are part of that team, as well as several other Washoe County Health District staff members here that can help answer questions and kind of direct you guys if you have any questions, including our front desk staff that takes in your applications when you guys apply. And then we do have Scott over here as our communications manager, and he is kind of going to be taking care of the Zoom. And also, if you hadn't stopped at the back table, we do have a copy of the application. We're going to show you some pictures, but if you want to follow along, make sure you grabbed a copy of that application. Okay, so go ahead and advance to the next one. Okay, so first, Mia is just going to review the reason behind the change to our application and the submittal process. And that really just comes down to our goal, which is, preventing foodborne disease and just ensuring food safety in our community. And then Kristen's actually going to go through the application with you and highlight the changes. And then we'll have some time for question and answer at the end. For those of you on Zoom, if you do have questions, there's a chat box or question and answer section. So go ahead and put your questions in there, and Scott will read those out to us when we're ready. And then for anyone in the audience, in order for those on Zoom to be able to hear your question, Ian is going to run the microphone to you. So if you can just hold your question, raise your hand and just hold your question until he gets to you with that microphone, that would be appreciated. And you guys are welcome to move forward if you want to. I know this is a big room, so. And before I hand it off to Mia, I do just want to acknowledge, first of all, the great work that the team did on this application. We did put it together in a short period of time, and we are rolling it out starting July 1st. And I want to highlight a couple things I know are probably important to you. One is this is not a fee workshop, so we aren't going to be discussing fees. We're not proposing to change fees. This is really just the application process. And then the other one that I want to highlight that this is the biggest change, and we're kind of probably repeat this several times today, is that we are changing the deadline for your application submittal. It needs to be submitted 2 days before your event starts, or we will not accept the application. So that's really the biggest change. And with that, I will go ahead and hand it off to Mia.
Okay, so why is food safety important? And the answer is foodborne illness, which is commonly referred to as food poisoning. Foodborne illness occurs more often than you may think. Has anyone here had food poisoning? The CDC estimates that 48 million people a year get sick from a foodborne illness. We often think of foodborne illness as vomiting and diarrhea, which can be really uncomfortable, but may only be a minor inconvenience for most. However, foodborne illness can be really serious, especially for at-risk populations, such as older adults, children, pregnant women, or other people who are immunocompromised. Foodborne disease can cause permanent organ damage, loss of pregnancy, or other serious complications. The CDC estimates that of the 48 million people that get sick from foodborne disease, 128,000 are hospitalized, and 3,000 of those cases result in death. You may be thinking, I've been doing this for 20 years and I've never made anyone sick. We hear this a lot. In March of this year, alone, we received 28 complaints and 10 confirmed cases of foodborne illness in Washoe County. Foodborne illness is extremely underreported. Most people don't think to call the health department every time they're sick. It's nearly impossible to know if you've made someone sick, and this is why we focus so hard on food safety and prevention of foodborne illness. Next, we're going to show a testimonial of someone who has suffered from a foodborne illness. This scenario is an extreme case, but we just want to show you that it can happen.
Meet Brianne Kiner. Pretty much your typical 9-year-old third grader. She likes to ride bikes, read books, go to school, and hang out with friends and family. But this is Brianne Kiner as she was before E. coli ravaged her young body and mind, before something as seemingly harmless as a hamburger nearly took her life. Wednesday, January 13th, 1993, 9-year-old Brianne Kiner is rushed to Children's Hospital in Seattle. She'd been suffering with diarrhea and stomach pains for 3 days. At first, her mother, Suzanne, thought it was the flu, but while helping Brianne with a urine specimen at the doctor's office, Mrs. Kiner realized something was terribly wrong.
When I brought the cup up from behind her, it was, blood had filled it and flowed over my hand.
Brianne was later admitted to Children's Hospital's intensive care unit. Tests revealed she had been infected with the deadly E. coli bacteria after eating an undercooked hamburger at a Redmond Jack in the Box restaurant. Brianne's body was so bloated you could barely recognize her. Blood seeped from every orifice. Doctors were pouring bag after bag of blood into Brianne's body, but the E. coli bacteria was unrelenting. Within a week, Brianne slipped into a coma. Brianne's father, Rex, was living on faith.
There was just times of almost extreme sadness, and then just giving up and just saying, God, she's yours.
After 5 weeks in a coma, after coming so close to pulling the plug, their daughter Brianne was suddenly, inexplicably back.
I still had the mask over my mouth for breathing. I said, I love you, Mommy, and she knew I came back for her. And I love her.
But Brianne knew in order to leave the hospital, she had to be able to walk. It took hours of intensive daily therapy to reach her goal. A month and a half after she came out of the coma, Brianne finally took her first steps.
I took little baby steps when I first started to learn how to walk again. I kind of like told myself, Brianne, you want to get out of this place, you have to go through this. I tell Mom and Dad I want to go home. I want to be with my friends. But I knew I had to stay there until the time was right.
Brianne has continuing nightmares, dreams of cobras with fangs, a big black hole. E. coli has left Brianne with brain damage and has left its mark in other ways.
She can't have children. How will she deal with that?
She's writing medical history. There's nobody with this disease who's been as sick as she is, or was, and lived.
As for Brianne, she plods along with her daily ritual to combat diabetes and asthma brought on by E. coli. And there are challenges ahead that Brianne doesn't even know about yet, but her parents know all too well.
And I'll pass it over to Kristen.
She had gotten sick Friday evening and had diarrhea, I guess, about.
Hey, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Kristen Tabraga. I'm the Senior Environmental Health Specialist for the Special Events Program as well as the Foodborne Disease Program. As Mia mentioned, that video was an extreme example. It's a pretty sad video, but we just want to kind of show what can happen if people consume food that's mishandled. Our team's goal is to make sure food served here in Washoe County is safe to eat, whether it's at a restaurant or at a special event. We don't want people getting sick. So one of the ways we do this is by providing information to operators before they operate. So we've developed a new operational checklist that's now included in our new application, and it's also available on its own on our website. We'll review that shortly. We also conduct pre-event interviews for events. This way we can ask questions of operators and it gives them a chance to talk to us and ask us any questions. We're also required to conduct health inspections for every temporary food permit that we issue. So the number of inspections for a permit depends on how many times the vendor is authorized to operate. So for example, a vendor may get a permit to operate at a farmer's market for 14 dates, but they'll only see us for a couple of those dates. During the inspection and pre-event interview process, we encourage vendors to use us as a resource, and just want to remind you guys, we're here to help you. Next slide, please. Okay, so we can open up the new application. We developed this for a few reasons. The main one's just to get more information from vendors on the front end. So it helps us know what to expect, and it also asks you to think a little more in depth and helps you know what to expect. The ultimate goal is for us to help set you up for success, so there's no surprises on your end or on ours when we're out there doing inspections. So this is the first page now. So before, when you'd print our application out, it was 1 page. It's now 8 pages, but only 3 of those pages are actual application. The other parts are supplements for you, just meant to help. So this first one is our permitting checklist. So the permitting checklist, it will help you understand the entire permitting process from start to finish, including links to business license, agencies, and definitions. So with those definitions there at the top, we've combined all of our temporary food permits into one application. Before, it was 2 separate applications. We had one for temporary foods, and then we had one for producers and samplers. So now you can reference the definitions there, and then you'll see when we get to the application, you just check which one you need. On the second page of the checklist, you'll see that the way to apply and pay for permits is still the same. So that part didn't change. You can apply and pay in person at our offices here in upstairs in Building B. You can also submit your application via email to our front desk. Towards the bottom of the page, we have links to our food safety resource page, our regulations, and the special events page. I would really encourage everyone to just check these out when you have some time. They're full of resources for you, and it's also going to help you understand what's required of you per regulation, what we're out there enforcing and looking for when we're doing your inspections. So for the first page of the application, this is what really changed is the application. We have some new policies that are in red, but the actual requirements for our vendors are the same. They're just called out better on this new form. So that's something to kind of note. So in red, you'll see that we are now requesting applications be submitted 15 days in advance of whatever event you're doing. That's a request. We realize it's not always feasible for that to happen, but it really allows us more time on our end to get staffing, conduct a pre-event interview, those sorts of things. If the application is submitted within 7 business days of the event, a late fee will apply. That's the same as always. Right now, the late fee is $100. Probably the biggest change, and Amber already mentioned this, is that if you submit your application within 2 business days of an event, we'll no longer accept it. So if it's a Saturday event, you would need to submit your application and pay for it on Wednesday. So please remember, it's illegal to operate without a permit. So if you are too late to apply and the front desk won't take your application, please don't go out and operate anyway. If we find you operating, we have the authority and the duty to close you and just not have you operate. So definitely want to avoid that. That's just a reminder. Don't operate without a permit. So right under those policies in red, back on that first page, we could go back up. Thank you. You'll notice a spot for permit type, and this goes back to what I mentioned before about our special events permits being combined into one document. So now we just want you to check one. Most permits we issue are for a temporary food establishment, so that bottom choice. Next, you'll see something that we added, which is a section for a number of booths at an event with the same menu. So this is to eliminate operators having to fill out multiple applications for the same event with the same menu. So a lot of times at our big events, we'll have an event organizer or a vendor that's having 5 bars at the same event. So instead of having them fill out 5 pieces of paper, we have them fill it out once, same menu. They can just put a number 5 there. We'll issue them 5 permit numbers. So hopefully that'll help out a little bit with that. On the second page, we've added a section that addresses whether there will be offsite advanced preparation of food. So if an operator wants to prepare food in advance, they must do so in a kitchen that has a health permit in Washoe County. So a restaurant, ideally. This is not a new requirement. It's just called out and explained more clearly on this form. So we are now asking if you are going to do any prep in advance, that you provide us a permit number for the kitchen you're working out of. The reason for this requirement is that food that's sold to the public is subject to inspection. We wouldn't want people preparing food in their home. We know it happens. We're definitely trying to work with people to just educate and just say, hey, you can't do that. We obviously wouldn't be conducting an inspection in someone's home. We also have a duty to ensure that food sold here in Washoe County is from an approved source, which means that it's from a facility that holds a health permit. So for source, that can be a health permit here in Washoe County, or that can be a health permit in Vegas or another jurisdiction. We just want to make sure all food comes from a permitted place. So the other option available here is to prepare all food on site at the event. Your inspector may ask you for receipts to prove that you've purchased food just prior to the event and you did not store any food at your home. Again, not a new requirement. Next, you'll notice a field where you can select how dishwashing will be accomplished. As with food preparation and storage, dishwashing can't take place at your house. So the preferred method for dishwashing is going to be a 3-compartment sink. We know a lot of times that's not available. On the larger events or multi-day events, we do require a 3-compartment sink be provided by the event organizer. But we have included on here and now an option for a 3-tub system. So that's the wash, rinse, sanitize buckets. We see those in a 5-gallon bucket or a bus tub at events. We just want to make sure that if you're doing that, you check that box, you talk to an inspector so we can just make sure you're going to be set up for success, that you're doing it properly, that you're not trying to wash dishes and prepare food at the same time. So we'll just kind of go over that with you and just approve that system before you do it. On the last page of the application, you'll see we ask some questions about responsibility for things such as garbage disposal and wastewater disposal. A lot of times for smaller events, it's going to be the vendor that's responsible to figure out where they're going to dump their trash or their wastewater. A lot of times on larger events though, your event coordinator or event organizer will have that taken care of for you, and they should be communicating to you like, hey, someone's going to come around and get your trash. So it really just depends on the situation, but we want you to know that up front and be able to tell us when you fill out the application which one it is. Is it going to be your responsibility or is it the event organizer that's doing that for you? Another important change we made on this application is our terms and conditions. None of this is new. It's just, like I said, now we've added it to the form. Okay, it's just to remind people. So the first box, we ask that you acknowledge that you are required to abide by regulatory food safety requirements. So what that means is, technically, you're required to follow what's in regulation. I realize not everybody reads the regulations, but you're required, when we're out there, we're enforcing what's written, and we want to make sure that you're following those rules to provide safe food. We do list in this section the applicable sections of our regulations in case you wanted to reference them. The second box asks you to acknowledge that you're aware your booth will receive a health inspection. It also reminds you that we do have the authority to require changes to your operation to achieve safe food, and that we do have the authority to suspend your permit and close your booth if a health hazard exists that cannot be immediately corrected. More often than not, that never happens, but once in a while it does. And we just want to make sure everyone knows, you know, we're out there not to punish, but just to make sure, like, hey, if this operation isn't going to work as it's set up, we're just not going to let it happen anymore. So hopefully we can avoid that on the front end though. The third box reminds you that it's against the law to interfere with our ability to perform our duties, which include conducting inspections. We also list examples of what interfering means, including abusive language, unwarranted physical contact, and a few others that are listed there. I will note that since COVID, Our inspectors have experienced this type of treatment much more frequently than we used to. We know this is a two-way street. We know that as business operators, you're having the same kind of things from your customers. We totally get it. These are not easy times that we are in. Hopefully we're heading in the right direction though. I want to remind you that we're humans too, and we will treat you with respect, and we're going to treat you fairly when we're out doing your inspections. And we just hope that you'll give us that same respect. The fourth box talks about the fact that simply applying and paying for a permit does not mean your permit's been issued and you're okay to operate. Our staff will contact you for a pre-event interview, as I previously discussed, and then we'll issue your permit. The exception to this is for vendors who operate multiple times during a year. We won't call you every time. We have our regulars that we see all the time. They're set up, they're good to go. It's just not necessary for us to do a pre-event interview every time. Again, none of these terms and conditions are new, just included now as a reminder. So the next page, and that's the end of the application. So the next page is our special events food establishment operational checklist. It contains information on what you'll need to successfully set up and operate your booth. We encourage all vendors to have a copy of this on hand when setting up. That's it. That was the packet. So I hope that it's going to be helpful. I think all of us, we put a lot into this, trying to help you guys as vendors set you up for success before you start. I'm happy to take questions or comments if there's anything. And then same for the Zoom people. If you guys have anything there on Zoom that you want to ask, please type it into the chat box. And then Ian will come around with a microphone. Anybody? No. What do you guys think? Like, it looks like it's more. It's a little bit more up front now, but any thoughts? Does anybody have any feedback? If not, that's okay. You can email me. My card's up there. Nothing? Okay. Well, my contact information's on the last slide. Oh, we got one.
Just, yeah, that's a good point. Just reminding that there's still the 7-day late fee, and then we prefer 15 days in advance to give us time. Okay. Yeah. Yep. So 15 days in advance, please submit your application, and then 7 business days before the event, still a late fee. And then just to clarify, for the permit number, if somebody doesn't know their permit number, or if it's an out of jurisdiction permit for their establishment where they're doing their advanced preparation. If they don't know the permit number, they can call our front desk. They can call me, but we really just want to make sure it's happening in a permitted facility. So if you don't know the permit number, you can always reach out and ask us. If it's out of jurisdiction, we typically just ask for a copy of the health permit, something that's recent, the last inspection, so that we can confirm that that was done in a permitted facility if it happens to be out of jurisdiction. And if we have any doubts, which is rare, we can also contact the local authority in that area too, to just ask questions about your operation. Anything on Zoom? Nope. Okay, well, thanks everyone for coming. Thanks to the team for all their work. And if something comes up, please, my business card is there. I encourage you just to email or call me. I'm happy to talk. Thank you.